Wine sighed after a long day of constant work. She has to make a presentation for which she pulled two all-nighters at once. But she still doesn't complain as she is doing the work that she loves and doesn't have any complaints about it. This presentation is very important for her company as CEOs from different countries, including China and Japan, will attend the presentation, and she was the only one eligible for the job. She tries her best to not make any mistakes. But what she forgets is that she has a very possessive and loving husband who can't live without her for the whole 2 days. She didn't come home last night, so the next day Jungkook was done with it. If she doesn't give him the morning kiss, his day can't start. She asked him to understand, as it's only for 1 day, so he didn't say much, even when he missed her from every corner of his heart. He understands space and privacy, so he leaves her to it. Jungkook, this is it. If she can't come home, then I can at least visit her. I miss her so much that I can't take it anymore. Saying that, Jungkook gets up from his bed and gets ready to meet her. He wears a suit, does his breakfast, and sits in his Rolls Royce. To get there, no one knows that her husband is a mafia. In fact, no one even knows that she is married. He let her work there as she always had a dream to work in this company. Doesn't matter if it's for money or not, but she just wanted to, and he doesn't disapprove her for anything that she wants or needs. He enters the office, his branded shoes colliding with the tiles, and whomever looked at him thought that he is there for a big investment because he looked like someone who inherited all the legacy of the royal king. Whomever he passed across bowed to him while he takes a steps further towards the reception. Taking off his sunglasses, he asked the receptionist about Vine's cabin and heads straight towards it. He enters her cabin and sees her asleep, putting her head on the desk. He gets worried for her, but when he goes there and looks at her cute and smiling face, he forgets everything and admires her. Why are you smiling and sleeping at the same time? Are you dreaming about me? He whispers in a low voice and laughs while admiring her. He came close to her and kissed her on the forehead, to which she woke up. Jungkook, why did you wake up? I barely touched you. Vine, you know I'm sensitive to touch, unless I know that it's you. And you, what are you doing here? Am I still dreaming? You're not dreaming, baby angel. I'm here to your rescue, he said after pinching her cheek, to which she screamed a little. She looks around and sees that she is in her office and starts panicking. Vine, why, why are you here? What if someone sees us? How did you enter? They all must have seen you. What do I do? He smiles and pecked her lips to calm her down a little. Calm down. I told them that I have some business related to Park Vine, he said, putting both of his hands on her cheeks to make her look in his eyes. She sighs after looking in his eyes. The comfort that his eyes give her can't be explained in words. But just so you know, no matter what she is dealing from, she takes a look in his eyes and she is all calmed. She hugs him while telling him, thanks for coming here. I was really tired and I needed this hug. Jungkook, that's why I told you not to work, but you just don't listen. She was about to say something that her phone bell rang. She picked it up. Jungkook, what is it? Boss is calling me. I have to go, she said while getting up. But he pulled her back from her waist and says, do you have to go? Stay with me for a few more minutes. She gives him a quick kiss and leaves, saying, "Sorry, I'll come back in 5 minutes." She goes after saying this, and he sat on her chair, patiently waiting for her while constantly looking at his watch. 5 minutes passed, 10 minutes, and 25 passed like that. He was tired of waiting, so he decides to take a look. He goes towards the lift and waits for it to open. When the lift opened, he saw something raging. His eyes grew dark and he clenched his fist. The CEO and Vine had barely the distance of an inch between them, and he was tugging her hairs behind when he was about to kiss her. She had her fist clenched because of the nervousness and fear, as she is really sensitive to touch, and he was forcing her. As soon as the lift opened, she ran towards Jungkook and hid behind him, tightly holding the corner of his shirt. Even though he wanted to kill that CEO in an instant, he thought about calming Vine down first. He turns to her and holds both of her cheeks to make her look in his eyes. "Vine, look at me. Calm down. Remember what you said. Whenever you're feeling anxious, do what?" He said, trying to make her look at him, but she kept looking downwards. "Do what, Vine? Tell me." He asked her again in a loud volume this time. "Vine, look at you and it will be fine," she said after looking at him. "Yes, look at me. Look in my eyes. You will be fine. You're fine," he said, and when he saw that her shivering slowed down a little, he hugged her while still telling her, "You're fine." She completely calmed down when she hugged him back and took some deep breaths. "Who are you? And why are you hugging my employee?" her CEO said while trying to break the hug between them. Jungkook held his wrist and twisted it with great force, to which he groaned in pain. "Jungkook, I'm her." He was embarrassed to say it, but then he doesn't care about what others think. "I'm her brother. He's my husband," she said after breaking the hug when she saw him struggling to say it. Everyone who was present there had their mouths and eyes widened up when they heard this, including Jungkook. They all looked at Vine in confusion, while Vine smiled. "I don't care now. I just want to go home," she said, looking in his eyes. He smiles back at her and holds her hand to take her home, leaving everyone behind in shock, while that CEO has to count his days now. In the car, Jungkook asked about what happened. She gathered courage to tell him that it never happened before. He was reeking of alcohol and he slipped on me by mistake. I tried to push him back, but he kept coming and touching me. He didn't let me move and tear fell down from her eye. "It's okay, it's okay. Don't say further. It's okay," he said after hugging her and patted her hairs. He had those calming expressions on his face for her to not worry, but inside he was raging and his blood boiled after hearing her. He takes her home and lies down beside her, telling her sweet words and trying to make her laugh until she slept. It didn't take her long to sleep as she was already tired from all the work. After putting her to sleep, he goes to her company, as he has some unfinished business left there. He enters there and threatens the CEO in every way possible to buy his company. "Jungkook, although I'm buying the company, it doesn't mean that I'm letting you go with just this. Try to make a living anywhere in the world, and I'll buy that company to kick you out. Try to rent a place, and I'll buy that building. You don't know how much I'm raging right now. I won't kill you, but rather I'll make you kill yourself, because that will be the only way you can escape from me." He left after saying that, leaving that miserable CEO still on the floor, begging for Jungkook to leave his company he worked so hard to build. He wears those calming and happy expressions again when it was the time to meet her. He enters the bedroom and takes a deep sigh in relief when he saw her sleeping peacefully. He tries to gently lie on the bed, but she still wakes up. Jungkook, I don't get if you're a robot or a human. How can you get up from that? She smiles and moves closer to him, putting her hand on his waist. Thank you for coming today. He puts her head on his arm and hugs her back. Jungkook, by the way, what will you tell your parents now? Vine never told anyone that she was married. Her parents sent them off abroad for studies and make a living on her own, as she also wanted it. But when she asked them the permission for her marriage, they obviously didn't agree for their daughter to marry a mafia. She tried to convince them a lot, but all in vain. Finally, when she couldn't live without him, she married him without telling them about it. And she never told anyone in their company. For what if they talked about that with her parents by mistake? Jungkook, by the way, what will you tell your parents now? Fine. There's a very little chance for them to know. And if they get to know, I'll try to convince them again. I can't live in denial for my whole life. I also want to proudly tell everyone that you are my husband. Jungkook, oh, what's with the sudden change, huh? You're making me turn on. Vine giggled when she said, so what? I'm also not tired now that I've slept. He hugged her tightly and started kissing her from her lips down to her neck. Jungkook, I love you so much. You better, she said while laughing.